Chapter 115. From the moment when Fei Chen hit Yang Kai with his palm, he was doomed to lose. Yang Kai clearly knew that if he wanted to kill such a master, he would have to restrict his freedom. Otherwise, with his and Xia Ningchang's current strength, there was not much hope. Long Hui had such exquisite footwork, so how could Wen Fei Chen, a master of Yuan Qi, not have it? Once he noticed something was wrong and escaped, he and Xia Ningchang would be finished when the sun came up. But how difficult would it be to restrict such a master? Even if more than half of his strength was sealed, it was not something he could easily do. Therefore, Yang Kai could only take the risk. He used his own body to take a hit from him, and seized the fleeting opportunity to restrain him. This was a very big game of chess. Yang Kai had included himself, so how could Wen Fei Chen not fall into his trap? With both his hands destroyed, Wen Fei Chen was like a hedgehog without its spikes. He had a lot of strength, but he could not use it at all. Accompanied by rhythmic screams and the sound of bones breaking, Wen Fei Chen was almost experiencing the coldest torture in the world in Yang Kai's hands. In just a few seconds, Wen Fei Chen's screams gradually weakened and could not be heard. His breathing was also not coming out. His whole body was like a pool of mud, limp on the ground. Xia Ningchang watched from the side with fear, as if it was the first time he had seen his junior brother. After observing him for more than 2 years, Xia Ningchang had never seen him so crazy, bloodthirsty, and violent. 3 black yin qi chains suddenly flew out of Wen Fei Chen's body. At the same time, the other 5 chains scattered in the valley also flew out and disappeared into the void. Junior brother, he's already dead. Xia Ningchang gently pulled Yang Kai. When the yin qi chains flew out, it meant that Wen Fei Chen's life was gone. Is he dead? Yang Kai gasped for breath, then slowly straightened his back. Junior brother, are you okay? Xia Ningchang's voice sounded like she was about to cry. She found that her junior brother's current state was a bit strange. His whole body was full of evil qi, as if he was about to become the demon race. Yang Kai knew what she was worried about. He grinned miserably. Don't worry, this is one of my martial arts techniques, but it looks a bit scary. Xia Ningchang's eyes were red as she looked at him. She found that although his eyes were terrifying, there was a calmness within them. She couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. Now that everyone is dead, let's go find that 9 Indu crystal. Kai Yang still hadn't forgotten about this matter. Can you still support it? You're so heavily injured. I'm okay, but I'm afraid I won't be able to hold on for much longer. Yang Kai grabbed Xia Ningchang's hand and hurriedly rushed to the source of the yin qi. Night was about to fall, and there was not much yin qi left in the valley. It was probably absorbed by the 9th yin yuan condensing dew. When they arrived, the treasure was still there. It was not scared away by the 2 battles that happened a few hundred feet away. At this moment, the flower bud was about to fully bloom. There seemed to be a drop of sparkling liquid in the bud, emitting a faint light. How do I do it? Yang Kai asked. Xia Ningchang said softly, use your Yang Yuan Qi to bind it, then put it in your mouth. I'll do the rest. Remember, don't touch it with any other part of your body. Put it in my mouth? Yang Kai listened in a daze. Just as he was about to ask for more details, Xia Ningchang's face lit up. It's coming out. As he spoke, the huge flower bud slowly bloomed. It was the darkest time before dawn, but as the flower bud bloomed, the entire valley suddenly became as bright as day. A drop of sparkling, translucent, dew-like liquid slowly rose from the flower bud and spun around. The petals supporting it turned into dense yin qi at this moment and merged with the liquid. Like a gem. It was beautiful, but it emitted a cold yin energy that would make anyone's heart palpitate. The 9th yin yuan condensing dew. Xia Ningchang's hands quickly danced, and the 9 yin 8 locks formation once again played its role. The moment the 9th yin yuan condensing dew appeared, the sound of chains rattling could be heard in the air. Immediately, 8 yin qi chains appeared out of thin air, driven by an invisible force. Under Xia Ningchang's light shout, they fell around the 9th yin yuan condensing dew, sealing off the small space and completely imprisoning it. The 9th yin yuan condensing dew tried to escape, but it couldn't escape the 5 feet radius. Junior brother, it's up to you now. Xianxia looked at Yang Kai nervously. Although after this ordeal, she didn't care too much about this thing, but the treasure was in front of her, so she naturally had to take it. Yang Kai nodded slightly and walked over with steady steps. The space sealed by the 8 Qi chains was useless against Yang Kai. Yang Kai's true Yang Yuan Qi was the nemesis of all Yin Qi. Walking into this small space, the 9th Yin Yuan condensing dew seemed to have noticed Yang Kai's intentions and floated in the air as far away as possible from him. Observing it closely, Yang Kai found that this thing really did look like a gem, but it was in the shape of a dewdrop and was only about the size of a thumbnail. Bind it with true Yang Yuan Qi. How do I do it? Yang Kai frowned, thought for a moment, and then directly used a drop of Yang liquid. When the Yang liquid appeared, Yang Kai's mind moved, and a big red sheet appeared in his hand. He spread it out and covered the 9th Yin Yuan condensing dew. The 9th Yin Yuan condensing dew still wanted to resist stubbornly, drifting left and right, and dodging Yang Kai's blow. Interesting. Yang Kai grinned. Although he knew that many precious treasures had their own spirituality, this was the first time he had seen one. Treasures with spirituality were incomparably precious. Not wanting to waste any more time, Yang Kai's other hand appeared again with a drop of Yang liquid, and it turned into a big ball. Let's see how you run this time. Attacking left and right, sure enough, it worked. The fiery red ball wrapped around the 9th Yin Yuan condensing dew like a fish. With a flick of his finger, the Yang liquid turned into a ball of feces and wrapped around the 9th Yin Yuan condensing dew, completely calming it down. Yang Kai didn't dare to touch it with his hand, but directly stuffed the Yang liquid and the 9th Yin Yuan condensing dew into his mouth. The moment it entered his mouth, a bone-chilling cold spread through his mouth. Even though Yang Kai cultivated the true Yang secret art, he couldn't help but shiver at this moment. But in the next moment, there seemed to be an energy that he couldn't see clearly emerging in his body. This energy was more effective than the true Yang Yuan Qi, and it immediately suppressed the chill. At the same time, a crazy attractive force came from his bones, and the true Yang secret art involuntarily circulated, drawing the energy from the 9th Yin Yuan condensing dew into his bones. Aware of this, Yang Kai's expression changed, and he hurriedly stopped the true Yang secret art, but in this short moment of delay, Yang Kai felt that the 9th Yin Yuan condensing dew in his mouth had shrunk by half. Instead, a chill grew in his bones and immediately disappeared. Chapter 116. Yang Kai's expression changed. He didn't expect such an unforeseen event to occur. Although he had experimented, he knew that he could absorb other types of energy besides the Yang attribute and store them in his bones. But now, how did he absorb half of the 9 Yin Yuan condensing dew? And at such a ferocious speed. After all, this was something that Xianxia needed. What should he do? Turning his head, Yang Kai's expression was a bit awkward. Just as he didn't know how to explain it to her, Xianxia had already come in front of him with a fragrant wind. At this moment, this little senior sister's face was flushed red, her breathing was slightly hurried, and her clear and pure eyes were flustered with shyness. "Junior brother, bear with it." Xianxia suddenly spoke, slowly reached out a hand, wrapped it around Yang Kai's neck, and gently pulled his head down. Her hand was a bit cold, but soft as if boneless, like the first snowflake in early winter, bringing a refreshing coolness to Yang Kai. Standing on tiptoe, Xianxia closed her eyes, her long eyelashes trembling uneasily. Then she lifted her veil, slightly tilted her head, and pressed her ruby-red lips on Yang Kai's mouth. Two soft lips, and an exciting girl's fragrance lingered at the tip of his nose. Yang Kai was stunned. At this moment, he finally understood why when he asked how to collect the 9 Yin Yuan condensing dew, Treasurer Meng and Xianxia had been so vague and unwilling to tell him. Originally, Yang Kai wasn't too clear about the reason, but at this moment, he suddenly realized. There were all kinds of strange ways to collect heaven and earth spiritual treasures. Every kind of spiritual treasure required a different method to collect. But the way to collect the 9 Yin Yuan condensing dew was so beautiful and sweet. As their lips met, Yang Kai's breathing quickened and his throat burned. Even though he had the 9 Yin Yuan condensing dew in his mouth, he couldn't suppress the boiling of his blood. Xianxia was even more unbearable. After pressing his lips against hers, he remained motionless like a statue. His face was as red as blood, and his heartbeat was as powerful and rapid as a war drum. He was at a loss for what to do and was clearly flustered. Although Yang Kai didn't quite understand the principle and specific method of subduing the 9 yin yuan condensing dew, he knew that he couldn't always maintain this state. Without hesitation, he grabbed Xianxia's willowy waist and pulled her into his embrace. Then, he used the tip of his tongue to wrap the 9 yin yuan condensing dew in his mouth. He pried open her pearly white teeth and sent the natural treasure into her mouth. Stimulated by the cold, the 9 yin yuan condensing dew, Xianxia finally regained some of her senses. She accepted the 9 yin yuan condensing dew and swallowed it into her stomach. A sweet and fragrant sensation rippled endlessly from the tip of his tongue. The two people's bodies were tightly pressed together. Kai Yang's upper body was bare, so his senses were even more sensitive. How could a young and vigorous youth like him resist this kind of temptation? Almost instinctively, Yang Kai held Xianxia tightly with one hand and used the other hand to climb up her round and perky buttocks and knead them. Feeling the two lumps of fullness in his chest and feeling the other's body heat, Yang Kai's breathing became more and more rapid. After carefully playing with them for a while, his big hand went around to the front and climbed up, wantonly rubbing the two lumps of jade peaks that were full of amazing elasticity. A moan came out of Xianxia's mouth. Yang Kai saw her large eyes slowly open a slit. Her eyelashes trembled, but when she realized that he had been staring at her, she quickly closed her eyes in fear. The heavy breathing, the exchange of their bodies, the touch of their tongues, and the mingling of their souls, the young man and woman had almost forgotten everything around them. They hugged each other tightly, as if they couldn't wait to merge into each other's bodies. Suddenly, Yang Kai felt pain on his tongue and couldn't help but scream. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Xianxia placed both hands on Yang Kai's chest. Biting her pearly white teeth, she pushed with force and quickly escaped from Yang Kai's embrace. "Why did you bite me?" Yang Kai felt that his tongue had been bitten, and there was a taste of blood in his mouth. Xianxia covered her chest with one hand. Her breasts rose and fell as she gasped for breath, trying to calm her rapid heartbeat. After a long time, she said, "I'm sorry, to refine the 9 yin yuan condensing dew, I need your innate pure yang qi and a drop of blood from your tongue. To refine the 9 yin yuan condensing dew, one needed pure yang qi. The purer the yang qi, the better." Yang Kai cultivated the true yang tactics, so he undoubtedly met the requirements. But to refine it, one needed innate pure yang qi and a drop of blood from his tongue. The innate pure yang qi was not something that could be obtained through cultivation. Instead, it was a mysterious energy that existed in every man's body from birth. It would disappear after he had intimate relations with a woman. This energy was of no use during normal times. Even if it was lost, it would not have any effect on the body. But it was necessary in certain situations, such as the current situation. Previously, when Yang Kai felt the cold energy that surged out of his body and wrapped around the 9 yin yuan condensing dew, it was innate pure yang qi. That was why Treasurer Meng asked Yang Kai if he was a virgin. Only a virgin would have innate pure yang qi, and only a virgin's blood from his tongue could be used to refine the 9 yin yuan condensing dew. Hearing Xianxia's words, Yang Kai touched his mouth and said seriously, "So that's how it is. Is it enough? If not, I still have more." Wasn't it just a few drops of blood from his tongue? Xianxia was so embarrassed that she wanted to find a hole to hide in. She nodded repeatedly, "It's enough. One drop is enough." Yang Kai couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Thinking back to the feeling of his tongue, he couldn't help but reminisce about it. It was his first time being so intimate with a woman. "Little senior sister." Yang Kai called out to her hesitantly, a fiery light flashing across his eyes. Xianxia suddenly panicked. How could she not understand the hidden meaning in Yang Kai's words? She quickly said, "You're injured, so you should heal first. I also need to hurry and refine the 9 yin yuan condensing dew." Yang Kai remembered that she once said that if the 9 yin yuan condensing dew was not refined within 2 hours after obtaining it, it would completely disappear. Right, this thing? Yang Kai was just about to tell her that he had accidentally sucked in half of the 9 yin yuan condensing dew, but before he could finish, his vision turned black and the whole world started spinning. Then he fell to the ground and his consciousness quickly faded. Junior brother. Xianxia turned pale with fright. She quickly went forward to help him up. After a little examination, her face suddenly turned pale. She found that Yang Kai's pulse was extremely weak, and his vitality was faintly discernible. The yuan qi in his body was extremely bleak and chaotic, as if he was a lamp that had run out of oil. This was no small matter. Xianxia's heart almost shrank. How could this be? Just now he was fine. Just now he was with her. How could he suddenly fall unconscious without any warning? But this examination allowed Xianxia to know how serious Yang Kai's injuries were. Needless to say, the wounds on his abdomen and shoulders were already bandaged. But after a fierce battle, the wounds split open again and blood flowed out. The most serious injury was the one on his chest. 5 of his sternum were broken and sunken inwards, almost injuring his heart and lungs. When Fei Chen's palm strike was filled with anger, how could it be so easy to block it? Chapter 117. After a night of fierce fighting, who knew how much blood he had lost? Only now did Xianxia realize that his junior brother's calmness from beginning to end was due to his strong willpower. With this kind of injury, if it were someone else, they would have died countless times already, but he had gritted his teeth and bitterly endured, fighting side by side with him to kill the last enemy and obtain the 9th yin yuan condensing dew. After completing all this, his mind relaxed and naturally couldn't hold on any longer. Enduring the grief in his heart, Xianxia hurriedly took out the remaining pills on Yang Kai's body, then searched Wen Fei Chen's body for a while, forcing himself to calm down, then took out some healing pills and fed them to Yang Kai. But Yang Kai was currently unconscious, so how could he eat the pills? Without any other choice, Xianxia personally chewed the pills and fed them to him. While he was busy, the 9 yin 8 locks formation that sealed off the entire valley suddenly shook and collapsed. It was dawn. The sun rose from the east, and the 9 yin 8 locks formation broke by itself. Xianxia didn't notice the changes in the valley at all, still doing his best to save Yang Kai. A tyrannical and gentle divine sense swept over, causing Xianxia's body to tremble. She suddenly looked up at the sky, and in the next moment, a figure suddenly appeared in front of her. Master! As if seeing a savior, Xianxia finally found an outlet to vent the emotions she had been suppressing, tears streaming down her face. Meng Wuya's old face was stiff, and he was about to scold Xianxia when he suddenly realized that something was wrong. He couldn't help but be shocked. What's going on? Old man Meng had been waiting outside the 9 yin 8 locks formation for most of the night, not daring to break it. He originally thought that subduing the 9th yin yuan condensing dew this time wouldn't be a surprise. After all, he had been preparing for Xianxia for so many years. Everything was ready, and as long as Yang Kai cooperated well with the 9th yin yuan condensing dew, it would be a piece of cake. It was just that his precious disciple had to make some sacrifices. After staying outside for most of the night, Meng Wuya was also sulking. Which master would be drugged by his own disciple? He was afraid that he was the only one in the world. He wasn't angry that he had been drugged and lost, but that Xianxia had recklessly entered Black Wind Mountain. What if she encountered danger? Therefore, Meng Wuya had originally planned to wait until the array was broken before reprimanding Xianxia. Of course, he couldn't reprimand her too much. Towards this disciple of his, Meng Wuya treated her like a treasure. But the scene in front of him caused him to swallow the words that were at the tip of his tongue. Falling to the ground in shock, he looked at the unconscious Kai Yang and asked in a deep voice, "What happened?" Meng Wuya didn't hesitate. He immediately bent down and placed 2 fingers on Yang Kai's wrist. He used his divine sense to sweep through his body. He frowned and said in shock, "How is his injury so serious?" In Meng Wuya's opinion, Yang Kai's injury was more than serious. It was as if he had one foot in the grave. He didn't know what had happened, but the internal injury on his chest and the external injuries on his body were secondary. The most important thing was that his yuan qi was in chaos. His meridians and flesh were severely damaged. This kind of injury couldn't be treated without a peerless spirit pill. Not only did it require a spirit pill, but it also required a skilled doctor. Meng Wuya had nothing. Master, will he die? Xianxia was grief-stricken. She asked worriedly. Meng Wuya saw his disciple's expression and knew that something bad had happened. He sighed in his heart. He had been on guard, but in the end he hadn't been on guard. Not wanting Xianxia to feel sad, Meng Wuya comforted her, "Don't worry, with me here, he won't die." While saying this, he took out a bottle from his bosom and poured out a single pill. This pill was about the size of a longan fruit and was completely golden in color. It was clearly not an ordinary pill. Seeing Meng Wuya take out this pill, Xianxia's panicked expression calmed down. She knew the effects of this pill. With a trace of strong reluctance, Meng Wuya hesitated for a moment. Then, under Xianxia's gaze, he opened Yang Kai's mouth and was about to throw the pill in. "I'll do it." Xianxia suddenly snatched the pill from Yang Kai's hands and popped it into her mouth a few times. Then she bent down, wrapped the pill with her tongue and sent it into Yang Kai's mouth, which was filled with blood. Hey, this old man is still here." Meng Wuya screamed in his heart and quickly looked away. Seeing his disciple so close to a man without hesitation, Meng Wuya felt very uncomfortable. It was as if the daughter he had painstakingly raised was about to leave him. After the pill entered his stomach, Yang Kai's complexion seemed to improve. However, the effect was not as good as expected. Meng Wuya took the opportunity to look around. His originally turbid eyes suddenly emitted strands of cold light. He saw Wen Fei Chen's corpse and Long Hui's broken limbs. His doubts disappeared. The reason why Yang Kai was so heavily injured and why his disciple was in such a sorry state was as if they had gone through a fierce battle. Now, he finally found the reason. A wave of anger surged in Meng Wuya's chest and a trace of hostility appeared on Old Man Meng's face. He did not immediately ask. Now was not the time to ask. There was still a long way to go and there would be a chance to clarify what happened last night. Meng Wuya only regretted that he did not immediately break the 9-in-8 locks when he came here last night. If he had broken the formation at that time, his disciple and Yang Kai would not have suffered such a fate. Vexation and regret grew in his heart and gradually turned into anger. Monstrous anger. Taking a deep breath, Meng Wuya suppressed the anger in his heart and gently said, "Disciple, have you absorbed the 9-in-yuan condensing dew?" Xianxia foolishly looked at the unconscious Yang Kai and unconsciously nodded. "Then first refine it. Yang Kai, don't worry. With this old man here, he won't die even if he wants to." Meng Wuya comforted. Xianxia hesitated for a moment before nodding and repeatedly exhorting, "Master, you must not let anything happen to him. It is all thanks to him that this disciple is still alive. If not for his protection, this disciple would have already." At the end, he began to cry again. "Don't worry." Meng Wuya squeezed out a smile and slightly nodded. Only then did Xianxia calm down. He wiped the corners of his eyes and took out the bag he always carried with him. While paying attention to Yang Kai's situation, he also began to refine the 9-in-yuan condensing dew. Half an hour later, the 9-in-yuan condensing dew was completely refined. However, Xianxia suppressed the effect of the heaven and earth spirit dew in his dantian and did not absorb it. This was because absorbing it was very time-consuming. Once he finished absorbing it, he would advance to the yuan qi stage, which would take a few more days. Yang Kai did not wake up, but Xianxia was not in the mood. "Come, let's leave here first. He needs to be nursed back to health in his current state." Meng Wuya bent down, picked up Yang Kai, and then quickly rushed out of Blackwind Mountain with Xianxia. The two of them did not immediately rush to High Heaven Pavilion. After all, this place was not close to High Heaven Pavilion. Instead, they went to the town where Yang Kai and Xianxia stayed last time. In the town, they found an inn and temporarily stayed. Xia Ningchang did not complain about the hardships, serving Yang Kai by his bedside every day, doing his best. Meng Wuya also poured yuan qi into Yang Kai every day, trying to heal his injuries. After falling into a coma, Yang Kai found that his consciousness had entered a world of nothingness. In this world, there was nothing but the unyielding golden skeleton that he had obtained from the wordless black book. The golden skeleton sat cross-legged, its whole body shining with a golden light. Yang Kai also sat cross-legged in front of it, motionless. There was no sound, no light. Yang Kai kept looking at the golden skeleton. Although the golden skeleton did not have eyes, Yang Kai felt that it was also looking at him. Time passed, and after an unknown amount of time, Yang Kai and the golden skeleton remained in this silent state. Yang Kai was comprehending the mysteries of the golden skeleton. Last time, when he comprehended the unyielding will, Yang Kai felt that there were some hidden mysteries in the golden skeleton waiting for him to understand, but at that time, he was powerless. This time, after experiencing an entire night of life and death battle, Yang Kai suddenly felt that the distance between him and the golden skeleton had been shortened a lot. If there was still some barrier between him and the golden body before, then this barrier had disappeared now. His unyielding will had conquered the golden skeleton's arrogance, and it felt gratified that it had found a suitable master. Suddenly Yang Kai smiled. The golden skeleton also changed, turning into specks of golden light that merged into his body, just like when he first saw it. However, Yang Kai knew that it was not until this moment that he truly possessed the unyielding golden skeleton. Although it had merged into his body before, it had not truly submitted to him. It had been observing and testing him all this time, and his performance had finally obtained its approval and dispelled its doubts. Only then did it willingly become a part of him. The world of nothingness suddenly collapsed, and Yang Kai's consciousness returned to his body once again. Not in a hurry to open his eyes, Yang Kai slightly checked his current physical condition. The injuries on his body were not serious, but his chest still hurt slightly, and the sword wounds on his abdomen and shoulder were healing very well. In the dantian, there were originally more than 40 drops of yang liquid, but now there were only 7 or 8 drops left. The battle that night had consumed too much yang liquid. Just the amount of yang liquid he used on Brother Kai and when Fei Chen was no less than 20 drops. Not only that, but he also had to resist the invasion of cold qi and fight for so long. However, although he had lost a lot of yang liquid, it was not as if he had gained nothing. This battle had actually allowed him to jump from the initial element boundary 4th stage to the initial element boundary 7th stage. Directly advancing 3 stages, Yang Kai could not help but be surprised. Thinking carefully, when he was fighting Wen Fei Chen, he had suddenly obtained the strength of the Qi transformation stage while using the unyielding will. It was probably at that time that he had broken through. This time, even Yang Kai himself did not notice the breakthrough. If he had not investigated it now, he would have been kept in the dark. Chapter 118. This wasn't the only benefit. He had unintentionally absorbed half of the 9 yin yuan condensing dew. Originally, Yang Kai didn't understand why, but now he could clearly feel that half of the 9 yin yuan condensing dew was stored in the most hidden part of his golden body. When he broke through to the yuan qi stage, he could use the 9 yin yuan condensing dew to refine his yuan qi and raise his yuan qi to a higher level. This benefit wasn't visible now, but it would become apparent in the future. In addition, he could now clearly understand many of the aspects of his golden body that he didn't understand before. His golden body could absorb energy of any attribute other than the yang attribute and then store it. When he needed it, it would give back to him. The more energy the golden body absorbed, the stronger his unyielding will would be, and the more help it could give him. However, the energy the golden body gave back was extremely evil, so when he used the unyielding will, his eyes would be filled with a bloodthirsty light and his body would be surrounded by evil energy. However, because his body had the true yang yuan qi, which was the nemesis of evil, he wouldn't lose his mind. The two types of energy restrained each other, but they also complemented each other. This allowed him to increase his battle strength without being affected by the bloodthirsty and crazy energy. Thinking of this, Yang Kai finally understood why the wordless black book gave him the true Yang tactics. It was to prevent him from getting lost in the surge of energy and falling into the path of mad demon. Everything was clear now. Yang Kai was just about to open his eyes when he heard a faint sigh in his ear. Immediately, he heard the conversation between Xianxia and Meng Wuya. Disciple, Master has done his best. Meng Wuya's tone was full of guilt, but also a trace of unwillingness and regret. These days, Meng Wuya had been using the Yuan Qi to treat Yang Kai's injuries. It could be said that he had spent a lot of effort, but Yang Kai's injuries didn't improve at all. In addition, Yang Kai had taken a golden pill before. In Meng Wuya's opinion, Yang Kai should have recovered a lot. Even if he couldn't fully recover, he should at least wake up, right? But now, not only was Yang Kai not awake, but he was also unconscious. He didn't know what kind of mysteries Kai Yang's body possessed. That golden pill didn't have the ability to bring him back from the brink of death. All it did was heal his external wounds a little before losing its effect. Even the Yuan Qi that he had infused into Yang Kai's body was nowhere to be found. It was as if there was a bottomless pit in Yang Kai's body, and the Yuan Qi was absorbed as soon as it was infused. How could Meng Wuya know the wonders of the unyielding golden skeleton? The unyielding golden skeleton absorbed all the energy except for the Yang attribute. The golden pill and Yuan Qi had been absorbed by the golden skeleton by 90%, so how could they display their full potential? Master! Xianxia had been crying all these days, and his eyes were red and swollen. Originally, he still had some hope in his heart, but now that he heard Meng Wuya's words, he was so shocked that his face turned pale. Is there no way at all? Xianxia looked at his master expectantly. Meng Wuya's background was extraordinary, and his divine technique was vast. If he said that there was no way, then in this world, there really was no one who could save Yang Kai. His soul seems to have been scattered. Meng Wuya's face was heavy. These days, I can't feel the existence of his soul. Xianxia was stunned, and his face became even paler. But don't worry, he won't die. Meng Wuya quickly comforted him. It's just that he will be in a state of suspended animation. From now on, he won't be able to speak, hear, or feel anything. Unless what? Unless we can find the soul-returning elixir and reform his scattered soul. Meng Wuya sighed, but the soul-returning elixir, this kind of small place doesn't have it. Where is it? Xianxia's voice suddenly calmed down, and there was a kind of determination in his voice. Meng Wuya looked at him, and then pointed his finger up. Xianxia was silent, but his eyes were filled with determination. No matter what, he had to find the soul-returning elixir and help junior brother reform his scattered soul. What are you talking about? Just as the two were feeling sad, a hoarse and weak voice came from behind them. Meng Wuya instinctively replied, "We're talking about your injuries." Just as he finished speaking, the expression on old man Meng's face drastically changed. Stiffly and mechanically, he slowly turned his head. His pupils contracted as he saw Yang Kai, who was lying on the bed, staring at him with wide eyes. Junior brother. Xianxia couldn't contain her joy and rushed over. Her long eyelashes were trembling, and her eyes were filled with unconcealable joy. She looked at Yang Kai with worry. Looking at her red and swollen eyes, Yang Kai couldn't help but feel touched. He thought that he had been unconscious for a long time, and during that time, he must have worried her a lot. "I'm fine." Yang Kai said indifferently, "I'm just a bit weak." "Master, quickly come and take a look." Xianxia rubbed her eyes while pulling at Meng Wuya. It was as if she was trying to drag her teacher over to Kai Yang's side. Old man Meng almost fell over from the pull. He thought to himself, "Girls are always extroverted, girls are always extroverted." If it wasn't for the fact that this old man's bones could still withstand the torment, he would have been torn apart by you. However, Meng Wuya finally came back to his senses. He sat beside the bed with a dignified expression and carefully examined him. After a while, Meng Wuya's eyebrows didn't relax. He kept muttering to himself, "Impossible, this doesn't make sense. How could this be?" With every sentence he said, Xianxia's expression changed. She thought that Yang Kai's injuries had worsened. Master, junior brother? Xianxia bit her lips and asked softly. Her heart was in her throat. Oh, since he's already awake, there shouldn't be any major problems. Meng Wuya's expression was a bit conflicted. He looked at Yang Kai with confusion. No major problems? When Xianxia heard this, she couldn't help but reveal a strange expression. Just now, when she saw her master's expression, it seemed that junior brother's injuries were very serious. How could there suddenly be no major problems? But that's not possible. Meng Wuya was puzzled. Yang Kai, is this the final radiance of the setting sun? Yang Kai bitterly smiled. Treasurer Meng, is there anyone who curses people like you? Meng Wuya's expression became awkward. But before, your soul had already dissipated. How could it come back now? When Yang Kai heard this, his heart trembled. Thinking back to when he was unconscious, he guessed that it had something to do with his consciousness sinking into the golden body. Master, you're a big quack. Xianxia angrily stomped her feet. Meng Wuya was embarrassed to death. He had just said that Yang Kai was in a state of suspended animation and that he needed to find the soul-returning elixir to reform his soul. He didn't expect that in the next moment, he would wake up. Wasn't that the same as slapping himself in the face? Losing face was a small matter, but losing prestige in front of his disciple was a big matter. Meng Wuya felt that his prestige had reached rock bottom. But no matter what, it was a good thing that Yang Kai could wake up. Although Meng Wuya was worried that he would seduce his disciple, he had risked his life to protect her that night. It was only because of him that his disciple survived and obtained the 9 yuan condensing dew. He had to remember this kindness in his heart. Meng Wuya sighed. Since ancient times, good people don't live long, but disasters live for 1,000 years. Yang Kai had just finished harming his precious disciple, so how could he die so easily? He had worried for nothing. But what should he do in the future? Meng Wuya's intestines were in knots. He wanted to cut the Gordian knot, but he was afraid that his disciple would be angry with him, so he hesitated. When Yang Kai woke up, Xianxia finally relaxed. These days, she hadn't rested much because she was afraid that Yang Kai wouldn't wake up. Now that she had confirmed that Yang Kai was fine, she naturally didn't have to worry. For the next 2 days, Yang Kai was recuperating, Xianxia was attending to him, and old man Meng was sighing at the side. On the 3rd day, Xianxia was finally given a strict order by Meng Wuya. He told her that she must first absorb the 9 yuan condensing dew, transform her yuan qi into yuan qi, and advance to the yuan qi stage. After all, although this thing had already been refined, it wasn't a good idea to leave it in the dantian. Xianxia didn't refuse and obediently did as she was told. Normally, she was a very well-behaved girl. Last time, she had no choice but to drug her master, but that was only a small accident. Although the 3 of them were staying in an inn, Meng Wuya's strength was profound, so he wasn't worried that someone would disturb Xianxia, so he let her go into seclusion. Yang Kai's side was basically fine, but the wounds on his body and the bones in his chest would naturally take a few days to heal. Every day, he would meditate and cultivate. Once Xianxia finished advancing, the 3 of them would set off to return to High Heaven Pavilion. One day, while Yang Kai was cultivating, Meng Wuya came in with a bowl of steaming hot soup in his hand. Yang Kai sniffed and smelled the aroma, quickly opening his eyes. Meng Wuya handed the big bowl to Yang Kai, and with a pained expression, he gritted his teeth and said, "Drink it." Yang Kai didn't hesitate, taking the bowl and drinking it in one gulp. He smacked his lips and burped, excitedly saying, "What is this? The medicinal effect is so strong." He could feel his entire body heating up as he swallowed this bowl of food. Furthermore, it contained a huge amount of energy. A part of it seeped into his flesh and meridians to repair his injuries, while the other part was being absorbed by the golden body at this moment. Meng Wuya's mouth twitched, and he said in grief, "This is the ginseng soup that I brewed with 1,000-year-old blood spirit ginseng and various heavenly treasures. Do you think the medicinal effect is strong? *CK. This thing is priceless, but you drank it all in one gulp. You should at least taste it." It tastes good. Yang Kai nodded solemnly. Meng Wuya took a deep breath and calmed the rolling blood in his chest. He thought to himself, if it wasn't for my precious disciple wanting me to use this thing to nourish your body before you went into seclusion, how could I bear to take it out? This thing can save your life at a critical moment, and you can't find a single stalk in the entire Darkhan dynasty. What a waste! What a waste! Do you have more? Yang Kai licked the corner of his mouth, still wanting more. Meng Wuya said in annoyance, no more. Even if I had more, I wouldn't give it to you. If you eat more, you won't die. Yang Kai smiled. He thought to himself, I have the support of the golden body. No matter how much energy and heavenly treasures I have, I can store them, so I won't die. Tell me what happened that night. Meng Wuya's face suddenly became serious, and his eyes flashed with the anger and killing intent that he had been hiding for a long time. Yang Kai turned his head and glanced at him. Didn't little senior sister tell you? She was only concerned about your injuries a few days ago, so I didn't ask, Meng Wuya said in a deep voice. Meng Wuya asked in a deep voice, his eyes burning as he looked at Yang Kai, who died in the mountain valley? And who is it that attacked you? Chapter 119. They were from the blood group and the storm house. Yang Kai's expression became serious as he roughly recounted what had happened that night. Of course, as for how he had single-handedly killed 9 people, he naturally skipped over the important details and dwelled on the trivial. This matter was too mysterious. Even if he told Old Man Meng, he would not necessarily believe him. Meng Wuya was furious after hearing this. After a long time, Yang Kai finally finished speaking. Meng Wuya nodded slightly. So, the main culprit is you, but the mastermind is Long Hui? This time, it is I who have implicated little senior sister. Yang Kai nodded in acknowledgement. Although you are the main culprit, it is not your fault. Ning Chang is not injured, you do not need to worry about it. Meng Wuya comforted him, then sneered, Blood group, Long Zai Tian. This old man will remember this. Seeing the dangerous light in Meng Wuya's eyes, Yang Kai knew that Long Zai Tian was in big trouble. Yang Kai could not understand Old Man Meng's origin and strength, but he always felt that he was not an ordinary person. If he really went to find trouble with Long Zai Tian, Yang Kai would be happy to see it, but it was not very satisfying. Yang Kai always believed that revenge must be done personally. If Long Zai Tian died at the hands of Meng Wuya, then he would not be able to avenge that day's hatred. However, Yang Kai would not dissuade him. This time, Meng Wuya was really angry. The fire in his heart must be vented. After staying in the inn for 2 days, Xia Ningchang finally came out. As expected, her strength had reached the Yuan Qi stage. Yang Kai asked around and found out that the 9 yin yuan condensing dew did not need to be completely refined for it to have an effect. In theory, 1 drop of the 9 yin yuan condensing dew could be used by 3 or 4 people. After all, it was only a primer that transformed the cultivator's Yuan Qi into Yuan Qi. However, this item was rather special. If one did not refine it within 2 hours after receiving it, it would disappear without a trace. Thus, even if someone obtained it, it would only be used by 1 person. Knowing this, Yang Kai couldn't help but relax. It seemed that he had accidentally absorbed half of the 9 yin yuan condensing dew, but it didn't affect Xia Ningchang at all. Furthermore, up until now, that half a drop of heaven and earth spirit essence had been stored within his golden avatar, and had not disappeared as she had said. With Yang Kai's injuries fully healed and Xia Ningchang's breakthrough, the 3 of them naturally wouldn't stay any longer and immediately set off for High Heaven Pavilion. Yang Kai was carried back by Treasurer Meng. Along the way, he ate a lot of wind and felt dizzy. After returning to High Heaven Pavilion, Yang Kai bid farewell to the master and disciple pair and returned to his small wooden house. Although he hadn't returned for nearly 20 days, the small wooden house was still as clean as new. It seemed that during his absence, Li Yun Tian and the others had helped him take care of it. In the following days, Yang Kai once again returned to his previous peaceful life, cultivating every day and stabilizing his current realm. However, when he was idle, the figure of that cute little senior sister would occasionally appear in front of him. After all, this was the first woman Yang Kai had kissed. That sweet and soft feeling was still lingering in his mind. However, after returning, Xianxia had not appeared. It was as if she had forgotten the agreement between the two of them. That night, in the mountain crack, before Yang Kai left, he had said that if he could return alive, Xianxia would agree to one of his requests. At that time, Yang Kai had only wanted to find something for himself to remember and had no deeper meaning. Although he felt a little disappointed, Yang Kai didn't care too much about it. I quietly floated past, waving my sleeves without taking away a cloud, drifting past that kiss. It was only because he wanted to subdue the 9th Yin Yuan condensing dew. Although at that time both of them were a little emotional, it didn't mean anything. They were both young and full of vigor, so in that kind of situation, it was inevitable that they would be emotional. Yang Kai didn't feel inferior because of the difference in strength between them. When it came to strength, as long as he diligently cultivated, he would naturally become stronger. He believed that one day he would be able to surpass this little senior sister and surpass any other person of the same age. Because the unyielding golden skeleton had infinite possibilities. Feelings weren't what Yang Kai needed to consider right now. If it was his, it would eventually be his. If it wasn't his, even if he forced it, there wouldn't be any results. If Xianxia was interested in him, then what did it matter if his strength was low? If she really alienated him because of his low strength, Yang Kai had nothing to say. If others didn't like him, could he blame them for having high standards? However, with her delicate and pure personality, she shouldn't be so snobbish. On this point, Yang Kai was right. After Xianxia returned to High Heaven Pavilion, she was really embarrassed to see Yang Kai. Thinking back to that night's passion, she felt a little ashamed. Even if she wore a veil, she still didn't have the face to appear in front of Yang Kai. Moreover, as soon as she returned to High Heaven Pavilion, Meng Wuya made her go into seclusion again. On the surface, it was to consolidate her newly promoted cultivation, but in reality, it was because he was afraid that she and Yang Kai would still be together. Otherwise, with her personality, she would have come to ask Yang Kai how his body was recovering. After cultivating for 2 days, Yang Kai was quite dissatisfied with his results. Absorbing Yang Qi by the coiling dragon stream was too slow. It was far inferior to directly eating spirit fruits and absorbing Yang inflammation stones. The amount of Yang liquid in the dantian was very small, so he had to quickly replenish it. Otherwise, if he encountered a battle like that night again, he was afraid that he would fall into an awkward situation where he couldn't cook without rice. Thinking about it, Yang Kai decided to go to Black Wind trade again. First, he wanted to buy something that could condense Yang liquid. Second, he wanted to buy the 3-leaved Chaos Spirit Flower and Dead Jedi Tree Grass. The incense burner hadn't been used for a long time. As for money, Yang Kai had a lot of it. He was no longer the poor ghost he was before. These silvers were all plundered from the people of Blood Group. At that time, it was too dark, so Yang Kai didn't carefully count them. When he came back, he found that this group of people was really rich. Just by plundering a few people, he actually obtained nearly 20,000 taels of silver. With this much money, he could buy 40 pieces of Yang inflammation stones. It was enough to make up for the loss of that night, and more than double. A few hours after Yang Kai left for Black Wind trade, Meng Wuya also left with a murderous aura. His goal was the Blood Group. Although the Blood Group was one of the 3 major forces in the vicinity, how could Meng Wuya be afraid of them? His own disciple almost suffered a fatal disaster and almost lost her innocence. This account must be settled. Long Hui's death didn't matter. Didn't he have a grandfather? If the upper beam is not straight, the lower beam will be crooked. If there was no one protecting him, how could a trivial Long Hui be so arrogant? So in Meng Wuya's view, Long Zai Tian was even more hateful than Long Hui. He deserved to be killed. High Heaven Pavilion was not far from the Blood Group. Meng Wuya's speed was extremely fast, so in the time it took to drink a cup of tea, he arrived at the Blood Group's headquarters. At this moment, the Blood Group's upper echelons were discussing important matters. In the main hall, the leader of the Blood Group, Human, was sitting upright. This person was like his name, born with a bare waist and a tiger back. His face was fierce and fierce. At first glance, one could see that he was not a good person. In front of Human, the blood group's hall masters, branch leaders and others were sitting upright. These people were reporting to Human about the recent events of the past month, including the income and expenditure of the blood group. Human was very impatient, so he waved his hand and said, "Let's not talk about these trivial matters. How is the mining area's seal being broken?" A young man of about 27 years old stood up and respectfully said to Human, reporting to the leader, "Grandfather has made some progress, but the number of experts in the gang is too small. Although the flowing time Great Emperor has been around for a long time, it is not easy to break. Grandfather had sent a letter to Long Jun a few days ago, asking me to pass on the message. He will do his best to break the seal as soon as possible." This young man was Long Zai Tian's eldest grandson, Long Hui's elder brother, Long Jun. He was already at the second level of Yuan-Chi realm. Although his aptitude was not as good as the other geniuses, it was not too bad. Because the Long family's position in the blood group was not low, even though Long Jun was only at the second level of Yuan-Chi realm, he still held an important position and was one of the blood group's hall masters. Human nodded slightly, "And that's good. Long Jun, if you have free time, go to the mining area and say hello to your grandfather. Tell him you have worked hard. I don't know what kind of mysteries are hidden in the seal. It is actually buried several tens of feet underground." One of the blood group's hall masters suddenly wondered. "This is all thanks to our Miss May Air's insight. If she did not say that there was something strange under the mine, I am afraid we would not have known about it." Yes. Although Miss May Air is young, her eyesight is extraordinary. I really don't know how she saw through it." Hearing a group of people praising May Air, although it was suspected that they were flattering, Human still felt very comfortable. But when he remembered that May Air was a girl and would eventually be married off, Human could not help but sigh. F***K his grandmother, "I, your father, am so wise and powerful. I have countless concubines and work hard every night. How can I only give birth to 2 daughters?" This was a sore point for Human. He had no sons in his family, so he could not continue his career. The group of people were still praising May Air's unique eyesight. Even Hu Jiao Air was praised to the heavens. Human was only unhappy. Speaking of this matter, it was really strange. The mining area had been discovered a few years ago. The blood group used the mining area to mine Yang inflammation stones and Yin Yuan stones to earn a lot of money. In the past few years, the blood group had developed rapidly. A large part of the reason was because they relied on the mining area. But no one knew that several tens of feet below the mining area, there were many mysterious and profound seals. Close to 2 months ago, Human's youngest daughter, May Air, suddenly came back and told him about this matter. He laughed it off and did not take it seriously, until May Air kept pestering him and insisted that Human send people to investigate. He had no choice but to unwillingly send people to dig in that direction. Although May Air had clearly told Human that this matter must not be known by the Long family. However, Human himself didn't care about this matter. He thought it was just a girl's prank, using this method to attract his attention. In addition, the matter of the mine was originally managed by Long Zai Tian, so this matter couldn't be hidden. The mining area was originally excavated underground. The location that May Air mentioned was not very far. After 10 or so blood group disciples painstakingly excavated for 10 days, they discovered that the location was indeed unusual. Chapter 120. That area was actually covered with restrictions. The disciples quickly reported this discovery. After Human received the news, he personally went down to investigate, but he couldn't understand these restrictions and couldn't see through them. In the blood group, Long Zai Tian was the oldest and had the most experience. Moreover, he already knew about this place, so Human let him take charge of breaking these restrictions and see what was hidden inside. Human had a feeling that there was a great secret hidden within the restriction. If the blood group could obtain this secret, then their strength would definitely leap to another level. Not to mention that they would be able to compete with the 8 great families, but at least they would be able to stand on equal footing with the first-class forces. Human was also somewhat vexed. At that time, Humayer had repeatedly warned him that this matter must be kept a secret, but he didn't take it to heart. Now, the entire upper echelon of the group knew about it. That day, after returning from the mining area, Human hurriedly went to find Humayer. He wanted to inquire about how she knew that there was a secret hidden under the mining area. What he didn't expect was that Humayer would actually quarrel with him because of this matter. During the quarrel, Human found out that his daughter had received guidance from an expert. It was that expert who told Humayer that there was a secret under the mining area. But because he didn't care, it caused his daughter to fail to live up to that expert's trust. That expert didn't want the Long family to know about this secret. Daughter, what kind of expert is he? Human was in awe of that mysterious expert. To be able to see the secret buried under the ground, this expert's strength was definitely not small. In Human's imagination, this person definitely had a strength that could shock the heavens and make ghosts and gods weep. What kind of expert? At that time, Humayer's mind appeared with Xianxia's appearance. Her face slightly reddened, and she rolled her eyes at her father. I won't tell you. Looking at her appearance, Human was immediately shocked. Could it be that his daughter was interested in this expert? After asking around in a roundabout manner, Human was shocked at that time. This expert was actually a young man. Such a person, how bad could his background be? Daughter, have you fallen in love with him? Human excitedly inquired. In his opinion, his daughter would always be married off, but the most important issue was who she would marry. If she could marry into one of the 8 great families, then that would be the best-case scenario. The blood group would also be able to fly into the sky and become a phoenix. But this young man with good eyesight was definitely not bad. So what if I do? Humayer sighed faintly. If you like her, then try to get close to her. My daughter is so beautiful, could it be that he doesn't like her? Barbarian who urged, that's right, could it be that he already has a wife? It's normal for a man to have multiple wives and concubines. Humayer turned around and glared at him. It's because of you that I've failed to live up to someone's trust. How can I still have the face to see them? When Human heard this, he could only laugh in embarrassment. How could he know that his daughter was telling the truth? If he knew, he wouldn't have shared this secret with her. It had to be said that Human had completely misunderstood Xianxia. If he knew that the expert in his heart was only a High Heaven Pavilion trial disciple, he feared that Humayer wouldn't have enough time to avoid him. How could he let her get close to him? Retracting his train of thought, Human let out a long sigh, thinking to himself that this matter was really worrying. His daughter had been in seclusion these past few days and didn't like to run around like before. Her strength had improved a lot, but if she didn't get in touch with that young man, how could she have the opportunity to marry him? The group of hall leaders and helm leaders were still flattering Human, but to Human, it was like chewing wax. Just as he was about to get up and leave, Human's movements suddenly stopped. He immediately raised his head and looked towards the door. His face couldn't help but reveal a dignified expression. In the next moment, all the hall leaders and helm leaders quickly shut their mouths and turned their heads. An invisible pressure, as if the heavens were pressing down on them, made everyone's heart tremble. An expert had arrived at the blood group. Everyone in the main hall felt the aura of the person who had arrived. Immediately after, an old voice sounded in everyone's ears. Where is Long Zai Tian? This voice was very calm, and no emotions could be heard from it. However, everyone present couldn't help but shiver. They faintly felt that this expert who had suddenly appeared had some ill intentions. Looking for Vice Leader Long? The group of people looked at each other and couldn't help but feel puzzled. Follow me outside to take a look. Human stood up and walked out in large strides. Behind him, the hall leaders and helm leaders followed closely behind. Outside the room, everyone saw an old man standing motionlessly in midair. This person's hair and beard were all white, and his face was as calm as water. A pair of sharp eyes swept over, like an eagle overlooking the earth, carrying a disdainful arrogance and unruliness. Being swept by this pair of eyes, everyone involuntarily felt a sense of insignificance. Peak of immortal ascension boundary. Hu Man exclaimed, his rough face slightly twitching. Peak of immortal ascension boundary? Some people were shocked. Is he the sect master of High Heaven Pavilion? Within this 1,000-mile radius, there were a few immortal ascension boundary masters, but when it came to the peak of immortal ascension boundary, only the sect master of High Heaven Pavilion could appear and disappear like a ghost. This person's age was similar to the rumored sect master of High Heaven Pavilion. No wonder people would mistakenly recognize him. It's not him. Hu Man slowly shook his head. When he was young, he had seen the sect master of High Heaven Pavilion, so he naturally remembered his appearance. He was completely different from this old man in front of him. Moreover, although this person was at the peak of immortal ascension boundary, the pressure he brought to Hu Man was far greater than the immortal ascension boundary. Hu Man himself was an immortal ascension boundary 7th-stage master, so even if the sect master of High Heaven Pavilion personally came, he wouldn't feel too much pressure. The old man in front of him was different. When Hu Man looked at him, it was like looking at a mountain that could never be climbed, a river that couldn't be crossed. Even if he spent a lifetime of energy, he could only look up at his back. This feeling was very strange, but Hu Man always believed in his intuition. This old man, he couldn't be an enemy, Where did this master come from? Hu Man's face was heavy. He stepped forward, cupped his fist and respectfully asked, "May I ask Senior's name?" The person who came was naturally Meng Wuya. Meng Wuya had been suppressing his anger for a long time. Originally, when he returned to High Heaven Pavilion, he wanted to find trouble with Long Zai Tian, but he was afraid that his disciple would secretly find Yang Kai, so he waited for her for 2 days. After confirming that she was really in retreat, he leisurely came. "You're Long Zai Tian?" Meng Wuya narrowed his eyes fixed on Hu Man like a hawk. Hu Man's yuan qi involuntarily circulated, as if he was in a life or death crisis, but he didn't show it. After all, he was the leader of a gang, his mind was firm. If he was scared by a few words from the opposite party, what kind of scandal would that be? "This one is the leader of blood group, Hu Man, I don't know Senior." Before Hu Man could finish his sentence, he was interrupted by Meng Wuya, his tone full of impatience. "If you are not Long Zai Tian, then why are you interrupting?" Hu Man felt a burst of bitterness, but it was not good for him to vent his anger. When he was about to open his mouth to explain 1 or 2 things, Meng Wuya had already flipped out. "Damn Long Zai Tian, fuck your 18 generations of ancestors, get the hell out of here for this old man." This roar could really be said to be earth-shattering, shaking the earth and shaking the earth. The whole blood group, even the people of Storm House and High Heaven Pavilion, all heard it clearly. After the roar, the whole place was silent. A group of Immortal Ascension Boundary and Yuan Qi Boundary experts all looked at Meng Wuya stupidly, dumbfounded and flabbergasted. They never thought that such an awe-inspiring expert would actually open his mouth and curse people, and moreover, curse in such a vicious and vulgar way. Where is your demeanor? Where is your identity? Any expert with a little bit of strength and prestige would not do such a thing, right? In the end, what kind of hatred did he have to throw away his own self-cultivation and demeanor? Long Zai Tian stole his family's chicken and snatched his family's dog, unexpectedly making him so angry. However, Meng Wuya's roar made the people of Blood Group clearly understand that the newcomer was not good. Hu Man said with a calm face, "Senior, can we talk things over?" Although the newcomer's strength was tyrannical, Hu Man did not want to be his enemy, but Long Zai Tian was still the deputy leader of Blood Group. If Meng Wuya slapped him, Hu Man would have to suffer half of it. "I said you are numb. Tell Long Zai Tian to get the hell out of here. If he does not come out today, then cut off his head and give it to this old man as a urinal. This old man will slaughter your blood group." Meng Wuya aggressively came to find trouble, but unexpectedly did not see the person in question. His anger could be imagined. Blood group, he really did not put them in his eyes. Hu Man's face showed a murderous look. Even a person of clay had 3 points of anger, not to mention Hu Man, who had a violent temper. If he did not have scruples about Meng Wuya's strength, How could he be so kind? But Meng Wuya did not give him any face. Hu Man was really angry. Hey, Long Zai Tian is a coward, not daring to come out and see this old man? Meng Wuya looked down and said contemptuously. This time, it was a young man who replied with a cold face, Old mister, can you watch your words? What kind of enmity do you have with my grandfather that you dare to insult him like this? The person who spoke was Long Jun. Meng Wuya scolded Long Zai Tian. His filthy words were extremely unpleasant to hear. As a member of the Long family, how could Long Jun endure? Relying on the fact that this was the headquarters of Blood Group, there were many experts, he immediately retorted. So what if he was at the peak of Immortal Ascension boundary? Blood Group also has Immortal Ascension boundary experts. If you really dare to fight here, then you will not be able to return. Your grandfather? Meng Wuya narrowed his eyes, staring at Long Jun. The person old man is looking for is my grandfather. Long Jun replied in a deep voice. Good, good, good. Meng Wuya laughed. Dragons give birth to dragons, phoenixes give birth to phoenixes, mice give birth to babies. That Long Hui is not a good person. You are his elder brother. You are also not a good person. How did he bring up Long Hui's head? Everyone suddenly felt that this old man's mind was not clear. He was rambling. They did not know what he wanted to say. Long Jun angrily said, Old man, don't be so savage. This is Blood Group. It is not your turn to behave atrociously. Chapter 121. This old man is behaving atrociously? Meng Wuya seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. He couldn't close his mouth, but immediately his face turned cold and said, This old man is behaving atrociously. So what? While speaking, he casually threw out a slap. Get out of the way. Hu Man's expression changed. Just as he was about to pull Long Jun behind him, Meng Wuya's speed was as fast as lightning. Just as he raised his hand, a crisp sound came from Long Jun's face. 2 teeth flew out in response. Long Jun's entire body spun a few times in the air before falling to the ground with a thud. Everyone from the Blood Group was instantly horrified. Hu Man also felt cold. They didn't see clearly how the old man in the sky made his move. From a distance of more than 50 feet, a slap landed on the ground, not giving them any time to react. Was this something that an Immortal Ascension boundary master could do? Even if he was at the peak of the Immortal Ascension boundary, it shouldn't make everyone feel so helpless. Hu Man felt that if it was the High Heaven Pavilion's headmaster who made this move, he would have 90% chance of blocking it. Why was there such a big gap between the peak of the Immortal Ascension boundary master? Long Jun was also stunned by this slap. After falling to the ground, he staggered to get up. He turned around several times to find the right direction. Looking at Meng Wuya, his face was full of fear and panic. His right cheek was swollen. Although he didn't have any internal injuries, but as the saying goes, don't scold people, don't hit people in the face. He was slapped in the face by Meng Wuya in front of everyone. How could he tell others the humiliation in his heart? This old man is behaving atrociously. What are you going to do about it? Meng Wuya calmly waited for Long Jun to stand firm. Then he threw out another slap. Slap. Just like before, Long Jun was sent flying again. The experts of the Blood Group didn't even have time to react. You dare to behave atrociously in front of this old man. Meng Wuya cursed. Meng Wuya waved his hand, as if he had hit a pile of dung. Hu Man couldn't bear it anymore and angrily said, Senior, you are a master, but you actually hit a junior. Are you not afraid of others laughing at you? If I really hit him, would he still be alive? This is just a small lesson. Meng Wuya sneered and said, Come here. Opening his hand, Long Jun, who had fallen to the ground and had yet to get up, was sucked away by a huge suction force. He was in midair. Long Jun bared his fangs and brandished his claws. With a terrified expression, he shouted, Gang leader, save me. Senior. Hu Man took a step forward and shouted in a stern voice. Meng Wuya didn't care about him at all. He just held Long Jun's neck with one hand. With a gloomy expression, he said, Every injustice has its perpetrator, every debt has its debtor. Today, this old man only came to find Long Zai Tian. Brat, since you are Long Zai Tian's grandson, then obediently tell me where he is. After Long Jun was slapped twice, he became even more obedient than a rabbit. He no longer had the youthful vigor he had before. He resisted the pain on both sides of his cheeks and trembled as he said, "Grandfather is not in the faction." "Where is he?" "In the mining area." "Give me directions." "This way." Under the threat of life and death, how could Long Jun dare to hesitate? Meng Wuxia asked a question and he answered. Even though his cheeks were swollen, he was still able to speak. Meng Wuxia's figure flashed and he was already 100 feet away. He took Long Jun and went straight to the mining area of the blood group. "Gang leader." A group of people anxiously looked at Hu Man. They were waiting for him to make a decision. "Follow." Hu Man's heart was filled with anger. He really didn't know how Long Zai Tian provoked this expert. The other party also didn't. Hu Man's heart was filled with anger. Meng Wuxia was unreasonable and used his power to bully others. Long Zai Tian had eyes but failed to see. He had offended such an expert and brought the fire to the faction. Hu Man had seen the Long family's little tricks in the past few years. However, the Long family had always been the blood group's right-hand man. Hu Man had the intention to remove this malignant tumor, but he didn't dare to do it. Once he did, the blood group would immediately fall apart. Their overall strength would be greatly reduced. If Hu Man didn't have a son, how could there be such a situation in the faction? As long as he had a son, Hu Man would be able to train him and let him fight against the Long family's younger generation. This time, Long Zai Tian had provoked such an expert. Hu Man saw a glimmer of opportunity. If he could use this opportunity to remove the Long family's influence in the faction, it could be considered a good thing. So no matter what, Hu Man had to go and take a look. Black Wind Trade was still bustling with noise and excitement. Yang Kai took out 20,000 taels of silver and walked around the market. First, he spent 10,000 taels to buy some Yang inflammation stones. Then he found an open space and sat down cross-legged. He picked up a sign from the ground and erased the words on it. Then he casually wrote a few words. Buying Yang attribute spirit grass and spirit fruit seeds. After placing the sign in front of him, Yang Kai no longer paid attention to it. He directly operated the true Yang secret art and secretly absorbed the energy from the Yang inflammation stones. Last time, Li Yun Tian had helped Yang Kai collect seeds, but he didn't gain anything. From this, it could be seen how rare these seeds were. Yang Kai was just trying his luck. In any case, absorbing the energy from the Yang essence stones would take a lot of time. He could cultivate and buy them. After spending half a day, he finally finished absorbing the energy from the 20 pieces of Yang inflammation stones. One piece of Yang inflammation stone could condense 2 drops of Yang liquid. 20 pieces would be 40 drops. The dantian was once again full. After checking the situation inside the dantian, Yang Kai was very satisfied. If he encountered another battle of the same level, he would be able to use his full strength. But after half a day, no one came to sell seeds. Standing up, Yang Kai looked towards the High Heaven Pavilion disciples' wooden house. Su Yan should be inside. Yang Kai wanted to go greet her and tell her that he had returned. But after thinking about it, Yang Kai gave up. He didn't have any deep friendship with her. Moreover, she was such a cold and noble person. Yang Kai didn't want to come into contact with her. Looking at other people's cold faces was meaningless. Just as he was about to return home, a person suddenly walked in front of him. Squatting down, she looked at Yang Kai's sign and asked, "You want to buy seeds?" Yang Kai looked down and found that the person in front of him was a young woman. She was about 17 or 18 years old. Her appearance could be considered good. Her face was delicate and pretty. Her eyes were like water, her skin was smooth and tender, and her figure was also good. Especially her pair of large breasts. Yang Kai didn't know what she ate growing up. She squatted down. Yang Kai looked down at her from a higher position. Immediately, he saw a deep and tender snow-white patch on her chest. She didn't look away. Yang Kai nodded. The woman straightened up and said, "I have some, but I don't know if you can afford it." Yang Kai suddenly became interested. That depends on what kind of seeds you have. This woman was wearing High Heaven Pavilion clothes, so she should be a High Heaven Pavilion disciple. They were all from the same sect, so Yang Kai naturally felt a sense of familiarity. I'll take it out for you to see, the woman said as she untied an exquisite pouch from her waist and handed it to Yang Kai. Yang Kai took it, opened the pouch, and poured out 2 seeds. These 2 seeds indeed contained Yang attribute energy, which was exactly what he needed. Moreover, these 2 seeds seemed to be of a higher grade than the 3 Suns fruit seeds he bought last time. If the 3 Suns fruit was Earth grade low grade, then these seeds should be Earth grade middle grade or high grade seeds. I want these 2 seeds. How much do you want? Yang Kai was very satisfied with the seeds. The woman smiled and said, 1,000 taels. Yang Kai's brows wrinkled. Although he couldn't deny that her smile was very beautiful, adding a touch of radiance to her beautiful face, Yang Kai couldn't agree to this price. In fact, if he really wanted to. Yang Kai spent 1,000 taels to buy these 2 seeds was not a loss, because he had the Yang liquid to accelerate the growth of these seeds, greatly shortening the growth period. But if someone else spent 1,000 taels to buy this, it would definitely be a loss. This woman was a bit too greedy. This made Kai Yang's newly born feeling of intimacy towards her vanish like smoke in thin air. This senior sister, isn't your price a bit high? Although Yang Kai still had 10,000 taels left, he prepared to use it to buy the 3-leaved Chaos Spirit Flower and the Dead Jedi Tree Grass, so he couldn't spend it casually. Is it high? The woman pursed her lips and smiled. It's not high. These are the seeds of the Earth-grade spirit grass, pure heart. Once it matures, it will have a lot of uses. In the eyes of a knowledgeable person, it's worth more than 1,000 taels. Yang Kai smiled bitterly. You also want to wait for it to mature? How many years do you have to wait? The woman pouted. Since you want to buy the seeds, of course you have to wait patiently for it to mature. Do you want to plant it now and immediately harvest it? How could there be such a good thing in the world? Also, things are precious when they are rare. Seeds are rare, so 1,000 taels is 1,000 taels. I have suffered a lot for them. Yang Kai was helpless. After thinking carefully for a moment, he nodded and said, Fine, let's do it like this. He would definitely make a profit if he bought it for 1,000 taels. Moreover, listening to her, it seemed that she had spent a lot of effort to get these 2 seeds. Since she had put in a lot of effort, she should at least get a taste of the sweetness. Moreover, this was a senior sister from the same sect. Moreover, Yang Kai really didn't know how to bargain, so he didn't need to waste any more saliva. There was no harm in letting her take advantage of him. He counted out 1,000 taels of silver and handed it to her. The woman took it with a smile and then carefully put it away. She looked at Yang Kai and said, Junior brother, you are a good person. I will also give you that purse. It was personally embroidered by senior sister. After that, she happily walked away. Yang Kai was stunned. It turned out that this senior sister also knew that he was from the same sect. Since she knew, she still asked for such an exorbitant price. If it was someone else, this business deal would definitely be ruined. Although he was cheated, Yang Kai wasn't angry. After all, it was just a business deal. The next time he made a deal with her, he just had to be careful. After waiting for a while, he found that no one else came to sell the seeds. After tidying up, Yang Kai prepared to use the remaining money to buy some 3-leaved Chaos Spirit Flowers and Dead Jedi Tree Grass. He hadn't walked a few steps when the ground suddenly shook. Then it shook again. The shaking continued for several times. The disciples of the 3 sects in Black Wind Trade were instantly thrown into chaos. No one knew what was going on. They only thought that the ground was going to split open. Many people panicked and ran in all directions. Chapter 122. After a while, someone's angry voice came from afar, but because the distance was too far, he couldn't hear it clearly. Hearing the voice, Yang Kai's face lit up. He could tell that one of the voices belonged to Meng Wuya, the other belonged to Long Zai Tian, and many other people were shouting together. Are they fighting? In his heart, Kai Yang understood that this commotion was caused by Meng Wuya seeking revenge. But the range of the impact was too wide. Listening to the direction of the sound, it should be the blood group's mining area where a fierce battle was taking place. That area was dozens of miles away. Even from such a distance, the earth was shaking. Yang Kai could even feel the yuan qi fluctuations coming from the experts. So strong. Not knowing when he would be able to reach such heights, Yang Kai's eyes flashed with anticipation and excitement. Suddenly, along with the sound of several doors opening, the guarding disciples of Black Wind Trade's wooden houses walked out at the same time. High Heaven Pavilion Su Yen, blood groups Hu Jiao Air, Storm Houses Fong Ziki, all three of them looked towards the direction of the battle with a dignified expression. Immediately, they simultaneously used their movement skills, turning into 3 afterimages and flew out. A white shadow, a green shadow, and a gray shadow. The white shadow was Su Yen in the front, the green shadow was Hu Jiao Air in the middle, and the last one was Fong Ziki. The strength of these 3 guarding disciples could be distinguished at a glance. There's a good show, let's go and take a look. Some people were alarmed, while others were anxious to see the world in chaos. They immediately shouted and chased after the 3 guarding disciples. Naturally, many people followed. For a moment, Black Wind Trade was in chaos. Stalls were quickly packed up, and the people who wanted to buy things were following the flow of people. A battle between immortal Ascension Boundary Masters. This is definitely a battle between immortal Ascension Boundary Masters, a rare scene. If we miss it today, we don't know when we will see it again. Let's go and take a look. A Storm House's disciple looked excited, his saliva splashing everywhere as he called out to his brother. Let's not go. If we are affected, won't we die very miserably? We are only watching from afar, it doesn't matter. Those are all experts, and they can control their moves with ease. How could they harm the innocent? In a few words, another large group of people ran out. Yang Kai's expression changed. He knew what had happened, but he did not expect Old Man Meng to go so far this time. Once this battle was over, it would definitely alarm the 3 surrounding forces. It was estimated that it would attract everyone's attention. After pondering for a moment, Yang Kai followed the crowd and ran away. He wanted to know what the final result of this battle would be. Did Treasurer Meng win or lose? Just as the Black Wind Trade was in an uproar, the blood group's mining area was already busy fighting. After Meng Wuya carried Long Jun and flew here, he directly went to find Long Zai Tian. The latter didn't even understand what was going on before he was beaten silly by his killing moves. Long Zai Tian felt extremely wronged. He didn't recognize Meng Wuya at all, but the opponent's attitude of not giving up until death made him extremely angry. Long Zai Tian was an old man, and as the deputy leader of the blood group, when had he ever suffered such a big loss? At this moment, anger rose from his heart. He used his full strength to fight with Meng Wuya. In less than 10 moves, Long Zai Tian was directly blasted down from the sky by Meng Wuya. When he was about to take his life, Hu Man and the others were forced to intervene. Although Hu Man was happy to see Long Zai Tian being suppressed, he was still a senior member of the blood group. Meng Wuya was alone. In front of so many people, how could the other members of the blood group stand by and watch? Even if Hu Man did not intervene, the other experts would have come to his rescue. Therefore, Hu Man had no choice but to take the lead. What was originally a one-on-one duel instantly turned into a group fight. Meng Wuya was 1 against 1,000, and he was not at a disadvantage even when facing the 10 immortal Ascension Boundary experts of the blood group. He was really awe-inspiring and insufferably arrogant. Moreover, during the fight, he was extremely humiliating. His mouth was as vicious as a scorpion woman. Not only did he suppress Long Zai Tian in terms of strength, but he also humiliated him with words. Long Zai Tian's old face turned purple. He wanted to curse back, but he could not bring himself to do so. He could only silently attack. From time to time, Meng Wuya would hit him once or twice. He did not know how many mouthfuls of blood he spat out. His expression was extremely distressed. Where was the dignity of the deputy leader of the blood group? Once again, Meng Wuya retreated to the air, while the experts of the blood group stood on the ground. Both sides temporarily stopped and faced each other. Long Zai Tian ground his teeth until they were almost broken. The corner of his mouth was filled with blood. His whole body was trembling with anger, but he did not dare to be too presumptuous. He endured the humiliation and said, "May I ask who you are in the end? How did this Long offend you? Why do you want to humiliate me like this?" He was not reconciled. If he had really provoked the opposite party, he would have had a reason to seek revenge. But Long Zai Tian had never seen Meng Wuya before. The opposite party had beaten and scolded him, and he was still confused. How could he accept this? So he must ask clearly. A warrior can be killed, but not humiliated. If this was a misunderstanding, then even if he died here today, he would still seek justice. Humph. Meng Wuya stood proudly in the air. He coldly snorted and said with disdain, "You did not provoke me, nor did you provoke me." Long Zai Tian's body suddenly trembled. He pointed at Meng Wuya and trembled for a long time. He opened his mouth and said, "You." Just as he said a word, Long Zai Tian spat out another mouthful of blood. His throat made a sound, and his eyes were filled with resentment. "I did not provoke you, nor did I provoke you. Why did you come here to beat me and scold me? This old man is already so old. Half of his body is already buried in the ground. Unexpectedly, I still have to suffer this kind of injustice. Don't you feel very sullen? You want to kill this old man, but you are powerless?" Meng Wuya sneered again and again. He did not give Long Zai Tian any face. Long Zai Tian took a deep breath and slowly exhaled. His movements were very careful. He was afraid that if he used too much force, he would die on the spot. *CK your 18 generations of ancestors. Meng Wuya angrily cursed. You also know how to be sullen, powerless to resist us. The treatment you're receiving right now is exactly what happened to my precious disciple that night. Your disciple? Long Zai Tian reluctantly opened his mouth to ask. Meng Wuya's eyes were filled with killing intent. He said in a deep voice, "Your Long family has guts. You have guts, you have guts. Your Long family dared to touch this old man's disciple. Can you be more clear?" Long Zai Tian slowly asked. He suddenly felt that the other party really did have a grudge against him. He was not deliberately causing trouble. Meng Wuya's face was cold. He shouted, "There is nothing good. When you're in the netherworld, go ask your grandson Long Hui yourself. Ask him what he's been up to these past few days. What happened to Long Hui?" Long Zai Tian's face changed greatly. "What happened to you?" Meng Wuya sneered. "Grandfather, I have not seen my brother for nearly a month. Last time he took Hall Master went out to do something. Until today he has not returned." Long Jun suddenly opened his mouth. Long Zai Tian's face turned ashen. Combined with Long Jun and the other party's words, Long Zai Tian guessed that Long Hui had met with misfortune. Although the other party did not understand, he also knew his grandson's character. Since this expert was venting his anger for his disciple, then his disciple must be a beautiful woman. Only for a moment, Long Zai Tian already understood the whole story. His heart was filled with pain and anger. The pain was because his grandson died like this. The anger was because he had eyes but did not recognize Mount Tai. He even dared to touch the disciple of such an expert. "Long Zai Tian, you raised a good grandson." Meng Wuya's anger overflowed to the heavens. "Today, this old man has come to take your life. I will let you know that there are some people you cannot offend." Meng Wuya took a deep breath and slowly raised his hand. As his hand was raised, the whole world seemed to change color. Blood Group's people were horrified. They rushed to Long Zai Tian's side and nervously watched Meng Wuya's movements. Meng Wuya's hand quickly fell and fiercely slapped towards Long Zai Tian's direction. Meng Wuya angrily shouted, "Die!" A huge palm suddenly fell from the sky. The power of heaven and earth, with an irresistible momentum, shook the heavens and earth. With one palm, the wind and clouds changed. At this moment, all the experts of Blood Group also displayed their most powerful killing moves. Together, they tried to block. Yuan Qi riot, flying sand and stones. Meng Wuya's one palm against 10 experts. He was fearless and domineering. At this moment, Treasurer Meng was more reliable than at any other time. Boom! A loud sound was heard. That huge palm fell on top of the blood group's heads, but it was blocked by everyone. No, he didn't block it. He merely delayed the descending power of the giant palm by a little. The 10 immortal ascension boundary experts of blood group, almost at that moment, simultaneously squatted on the ground. They madly pushed their yuan qi. Crack, crack, crack. Crack after crack appeared on the ground. This was the mining area of the blood group. Underneath the mining area, there were many tunnels. Now that the yuan qi had collided, the underground tunnels had collapsed. With a crashing sound, the ground within a radius of 1,000 feet started to sink. The experts of the blood group also took advantage of the falling speed and quickly fled in all directions. The giant palm finally slammed down, carrying the power to destroy heaven and earth, leaving behind a handprint on the ground. Long Zai Tian did not die. With the protection of the experts of the blood group, he was able to escape. However, he was vomiting blood and his face was pale. Today's battle had dealt a huge blow to his body and mind. He was old and weak, so even though this blow did not take his life, it still took away half of his strength. The other experts of the blood group also had ugly complexions. They had never thought that Meng Wuya's strength would be so profound. Was this still the soul travel realm? How could he be so strong? Moreover, the power of the martial skill he used was so extraordinary. It was most likely a martial skill of the profound rank or higher. Meng Wuya coldly glanced down and snorted. Just as he was about to follow up with another attack, a yuan qi fluctuation that made his heart palpitate suddenly burst forth from below. Even though Meng Wuya was strong, when he felt this wave of yuan qi, his complexion greatly changed. His eyes were filled with shock as he looked down. The next moment, a fiery red light flew out from the ground, swaying gently. It turned out to be a 100-feet-long fire dragon. Following closely behind the fire dragon, another ice blue figure flew out. It spread its wings and was also 1,000 feet long, but it was a magnificent ice phoenix. Chapter 123. Beast Soul. Meng Wuya's eyes almost popped out of their sockets as he stared at the two gigantic figures in front of him. The strength of the monster beast was extraordinary. Even if its body was destroyed, its soul could still exist between heaven and earth, waiting for the right time to be resurrected. The dragon and the phoenix were the kings of the monster beast. Naturally, they had the ability to maintain their soul. Meng Wuya was experienced and knowledgeable. When he first saw the two huge figures, he thought that they were the beast souls of the dragon and the phoenix. But when he looked carefully, he frowned because he didn't feel any trace of a soul from the two figures. They were just dead things. These two huge figures were actually the dragon and phoenix seals formed by the pure energy of heaven and earth. This place is strange. Meng Wuya immediately became alert. He looked down and saw that the ground under his feet was sunken. In the deeper part of the ground, there were some mysterious restrictions, but these restrictions had already been destroyed. It turned out that it was the aftermath of the battle between him and the experts of the blood group that had broken the barrier of this place, allowing the dragon phoenix seal to escape. This was an accident. Meng Wuya thoughtfully turned his head and looked at the people of the blood group. He found that they were also foolishly standing in the same place, looking up at the sky. Everyone's eyes were filled with shock and confusion. They didn't know the mystery of this place? Meng Wuya frowned. Yes, this restriction should not have been broken before, so they didn't know what was sealed in it. But they should be breaking it, and at the last moment, otherwise it wouldn't have been completely broken by the aftermath of the battle. While Meng Wuya was pondering, the two huge figures in the sky were already entangled together. Their bodies were up to 100 feet long. One was fiery red, the other was ice blue. When they blended together, the heaven and earth were filled with sparkling brilliance. An unparalleled hot and cold energy rushed out, making everyone feel that they couldn't resist. Retreat! Hu Man angrily shouted and led the people of the blood group to quickly retreat. Meng Wuya also retreated. Although his strength was profound, but in the face of such an energy impact, he still couldn't resist. There seemed to be a dragon's roar, deafening. There seemed to be a phoenix's cry, loud and clear. A dragon and a phoenix circled in the sky endlessly. The dragon and the phoenix were auspicious. After a long time, the dragon and the phoenix unexpectedly rushed down and once again fell to the place where they came from. Bang! A loud sound was heard. Everyone felt as if the sky was falling and the earth was rending. The yuan qi fluctuations were many times more violent than before. The mining area of the blood group was suddenly surrounded by a bright light. After a while, the light gradually dissipated, and the yuan qi fluctuations gradually calmed down. It was as if the world had quieted down at this moment. Meng Wuya stood in the air and quietly looked down. His face suddenly trembled and his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He said involuntarily, "Heaven's cave inheritance?" But the mining area below had been razed to the ground. Only a huge deep pit was left. It was about 10 feet from the ground. There was a layer of light screen blocking the view of the situation inside. On the light screen, mysterious characters and patterns were constantly swimming. They were as happy as fish. How could it be? How could the Heaven's Cave inheritance appear in such a small place? Meng Wuya almost thought that he was dreaming, but what happened in front of him was so real. The Heaven's Cave inheritance was a magical and mysterious space condensed by a powerful cultivator at the end of his life. In this space, there was a hidden life of the powerful cultivator. If one could enter it, it would be a great fortune. Moreover, the Heaven's Cave inheritance was very likely to contain the powerful cultivator's belongings. For example, pills, secret treasures, and so on. How strong was the cultivator who could condense the Heaven's Cave inheritance? That was beyond the existence of the divine transcendence. Only those who had reached the spirit-severing stage could do it. A cultivator at the immortal ascension boundary was no different from an ant in front of such a powerful cultivator. It could be said that a heavenly abode of inheritance was a treasure trove that could rival an entire nation. If one could obtain the inheritance of the powerful cultivator, as long as they did not die, they would certainly be able to cultivate to the same level as the powerful cultivator. Moreover, when the Heaven's Cave of Inheritance was formed, its momentum was extremely great. Presumably, the owner of this place was definitely not a small figure when he was alive. Perhaps, even among the group of people at the top, he was in existence like a phoenix feather or a qilin horn. Meng Wuya's mood was somewhat excited. The appearance of the Heaven's Cave inheritance in this place was simply too incredible. He was excited, but the group of people from the blood group were even more excited. The restrictive spell that was buried hundreds of feet deep underground had been unintentionally broken. This was great news. Moreover, Human and the others could tell at a glance that this was the legendary Heaven's Cave inheritance. There were rich treasures inside, and even more so, there were heavenly martial arts. Any one of these was enough to make people go crazy with excitement. But then, Human and the others realized the seriousness of the problem. A moment ago, such a big movement had alarmed the other two sects nearby. Even if the blood group wanted to monopolize it, they would not be able to. After all, although this place was the blood group's mining area and the restriction was broken by the blood group, the entrance was so big. If others wanted to go in, how could they block it? If they really did so, they would only anger the other two sections. Storm House and High Heaven Pavilion would certainly join forces to eradicate the blood group. Then, they would slowly scheme to obtain the treasures here. Thinking of this, Human waved his hand and said, "Go in first." He was afraid that the other two sects experts would come and snatch the treasures inside. Naturally, he wanted to be the first to enter. Even if they came, he would only give them a small profit. Once the order was given, the 10 immortal ascension boundary masters of the blood group rushed towards the mining area. While rushing, they vigilantly looked at Meng Wuya, fearing that he would try to stop them. After the previous battle, everyone knew that this crazy old man was not to be trifled with. Who would have thought that Meng Wuya just sneered and did not say anything? He just stayed in the same place and watched. Hu Man and the others were overjoyed. If Meng Wuya did not come, they would have to stop him. The 10 immortal ascension boundary experts arrived at the side of the giant pit. Looking at the mysterious light curtain below, they did not hesitate to plunge into it. Meng Wuya sneered, a trace of ridicule hung on his face. Just as Hu Man and the others were about to rush into the Heaven's Cave inheritance, the light curtain in front of them slightly flickered and directly bounced them back. The 10 people were like rubber balls, flying high up in the air. Then, after a few laps, they stopped in mid-air and looked at each other in dismay. What happened? Hu Man muttered to himself. He did not believe in evil and rushed down again. But when he touched the light curtain, the same thing happened again. He was once again bounced back. Only then did Hu Man realize that something was wrong. He turned his head to look at Meng Wuya. Seeing him standing there calmly, Hu Man realized that this old man didn't stop them before. He must have seen some clues. Hu Man couldn't help but lower his posture. He cupped his hands and asked, "Senior, may I ask if this is the Heaven's Cave inheritance below?" Meng Wuya snorted, rolled his eyes and ignored him. The appearance of the Heaven's Cave inheritance made him lose interest in finding trouble with Long Zai Tian. In any case, Long Zai Tian's life was already half gone. Moreover, his own losses were not small. If they continued to fight, it would absolutely be a lose-lose situation. Hu Man could not help but feel somewhat embarrassed. While he was frowning and thinking hard, from afar came the sound of fluttering clothes. The faces of the blood group's experts changed. They were extremely bitter, so fast. A moment later, the 5 elders of High Heaven Pavilion led by Wei Shitong appeared on top of the mine. After a while, the immortal ascension boundary experts of Storm House also arrived under the leadership of House Master Xiao Ruohan. When both sides arrived, they were shocked to see the Heaven's Cave inheritance. Their eyes were full of greed and surprise. Hu Man angrily said, "This is the blood group's mine. I am afraid it is not good for you to come here uninvited." Xiao Ruohan looked like a refined scholar. Hearing this, he smiled and said, "Chief Hu, you are treating me as an outsider. Your blood group and my storm house have been neighbors for hundreds of years. No matter what, we are old neighbors. Now that such a big matter has occurred here, my storm house naturally has to come and investigate. If your blood group needs any help, my storm house will not refuse. I think High Heaven Pavilion also has the same intention. What do you say, Elder Wei?" The meaning of these words was that they wanted to temporarily form an alliance with High Heaven Pavilion to put pressure on the blood group. How could Hu Man not understand? Hu Man coldly snorted. His complexion was ugly. Wei Shitong nodded. House Master Zhao's words are reasonable. Master Hu, this place should be the legendary Heaven's Cave inheritance. Although there are countless treasures, there are also many hidden dangers. Your blood group is alone. I am afraid it is not appropriate for you to enter alone. Why don't the 3 of us discuss carefully and join forces to explore?" Hu Man angrily said, "Why? This is my blood group's mine. The barrier was also broken by my blood group's experts. You did not contribute at all. What qualifications do you have to enter?" Meng Wuya coldly said, "The barrier was broken by this old man." Hu Man looked embarrassed. He bitterly looked at Meng Wuya, but did not dare to refute. Xiao Ruohan laughed. "Master Hu, please don't be angry. If there is a problem, we can discuss it." While this group of experts were arguing, the disciples of the 3 sects were crazily rushing over. Whether it was in the sect or in the Black Wind Trade City, everyone clearly saw the figure of the dragon and phoenix blending together in the sky. Although they didn't know what happened there, how could they miss such a spectacular scene? Even if they went to see the excitement, it would be good. Therefore, after a short period of panic, the speed of the crowd increased a lot. The whole Black Wind Forest at this moment was boiling. Yang Kai was also among them, rushing forward with the crowd. Although he was also excited, he was also secretly vigilant. The momentum of the dragon and phoenix bringing prosperity was too great. If that was really the sign of a treasure being born, it would definitely cause a storm of blood. Therefore, his mind was very clear. Once he discovered that something was wrong, he would definitely turn around and leave. With his current strength, he was not qualified to participate in too fierce a battle. But until he followed the crowd to the blood group's mine, there was still no danger. There were already close to 10,000 disciples of the 3 sects gathered here. It was bustling with activity like a huge market. Welcome to Legends of Cultivation, Audiobooks, where we bring ancient fantasy to life through storytelling. Follow the rise of heroes who defy fate, unlock mystical powers, and battle across celestial realms. Our audiobooks are crafted for fans of Chinese cultivation novels, filled with battles, breakthroughs, and legendary artifacts. Subscribe and be part of an unforgettable journey into the realm of immortality.